Doggone it, Max. I'm sick and tired of you derailing this show.
You need to learn how to wrap that thing up.
Woo!
Get the out!
All right, what's happening, everybody? This is the Philly Experience podcast. I'm your host, Max Kratzula, joined by Tanner Martin and Tyre Hood, as always. Guys, we're coming
We know it's hard.
with a solid victory over the San Francisco 49ers and take a look ahead this upcoming weekend, tomorrow afternoon, actually, against Pittsburgh Steelers, where Carson Wentz is going to try to lead the Eagles to a second straight road victory. We'll see if he's able to pull it off. Also, Doc Rivers gets hired in Philadelphia by the 76ers. We'll see if he's able to unlock the potential with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons together.
We know it's hard.
And a big-time name fired in Philadelphia, Matt Klentak. Not fired, but steps down as general manager. So we'll see who replaces him. And agreed, T. Agreed. We'll see if we can find somebody good enough to replace him and get some bullpen help and maybe sign JT Real Muto. So we'll touch on all that and more, including the NBA Finals as well. So let's dive into it. See, we want to get your opinion on the Eagles game last Sunday and also look ahead to tomorrow's game. But you got to like what you see, at least in the win column. But everything wasn't perfect. But there's some positives definitely to take away, wouldn't you say?
I can take the dub. I can take the way they won. It was scrappy, and I respect it. They did not give up. All around, good effort by the team. My thing is, I think I was asked as well, do you expect an Eagles win streak? And that's when I start to raise my eyebrow because I'm not 100% sure if I'm ready to say it. They can go on a win streak because, yes, I'm not going to complain about a dub. I'm never going to complain about a dub. However, we're talking about a team that didn't have its starting quarterback. Most of its starting defensive players weren't playing. Richard Sherman wasn't playing. Nick Bosa wasn't playing. So a lot of things you got to put into perspective. I mean, they started Nick Mullins. I mean, who the hell is Nick Mullins? Let's be honest here. Right. So, I mean, dude, this is a guy that was featured, all right, on Sunday Night Football. Okay, his mug is smacked in front of everybody on camera. And he got more recognition than Carson Wentz, even though Carson Wentz is struggling this year. Like, that's ridiculous. But anyway, we're not talking about that right now. It's just hard for me to wrap around the fact that, this team can go on a win streak. I mean, now you're going up against a Pittsburgh team now. They still have their offense, and this defense is still questionable for me. I mean, yes, they lead the league in sacks at this point, but it took them up till week 4 to finally get some turnovers. I mean, they're the third worst team in turnover differential. So that's a problem. That's something that they really have to work on, is getting those turnovers on defense, man. Like, yeah, it's until they improve those things where is when I'll start to feel confident in this team. Until then, I got to take it week by week. I'm sorry. I can't.
Tanner, we talked about the turnover thing on the Bird's Nest earlier this week, and we were able to get a couple of key ones in key situations, able to shrink the field, and that led to a couple of easy points, but a couple of short fields where we were able to get points. And we also had names that we never heard of really step up. Travis Fulgham, T. You think that Travis Fulgham's here to stay, or is this just a one-hit wonder?
I mean, I hope he does stay. I mean, that was a hell of a catch, man. That was a perfect throw, and that was a perfect catch, man. I hope he does catch on. I mean, I need one of these unknown guys to catch on because let's be honest here. Alshon Jeffrey, he was ruled out. All right, Deshaun Jackson was ruled out. All right, Arcega-Whiteside ain't worth 2 cents. I mean, as Tanner would always
What's
say.
he here for?
Yeah, so I need one of these receivers to stick. Seriously. Like, I need some of these receivers to stick. And that's another thing. And I'm not making excuses for Carson again. And I've been very critical of Carson this year. But
yeah,
let's be honest here. The receivers.
It goes back to us not being able to beat the Bengals and not being able to beat the Washington football team. So how much confidence can you really have going forward when we lose games like that or tie in the Bengals case? But then you go on the road and you do get the job done, like you said, but you beat a backup quarterback. You don't have Raheem Mostert there either in the backfield. So there's some big pieces missing.
Right, and that's my thing, man. I can't take stock into a win in which some of the players were missing. So when when these players start to step up. Now they beat a team like Pittsburgh, and maybe I'm going to raise my eyebrow a little bit. Well, okay, maybe this team can get on the roll here. Okay, they beat Pittsburgh. That's not an easy team to beat. They still have Ben Roethlisberger. They still have receivers out there on the outside. That defense is still formidable. So if they beat a team like Pittsburgh, okay, that's going to raise my confidence a little bit, but I'm still going to take it week by week. Like you said, those losses, especially that week 1 loss against the Washington football team, that took me through some emotions because you had a lead and you just blew it. You allowed the team to come back. So I'm sorry. My confidence just isn't there for this team right now.
Now, do either of you think that with the Steelers, like, forced bye week, I guess you can say, is that going to play into their favor, or is that going to benefit the Eagles being able to play, each week so far, not having to take 2 weeks off? I know they have injuries and they could have used the bye as well, but what do you think? Do you think that the Steelers go in here with an advantage or no?
I'm gonna say I gotta say no, only because, like I said, I'm not really confident in this Eagles football team. And regardless of where the bye comes in, you still got to play football regardless of the situation. Remember, we had an early bye in Carson Wentz's rookie year, and that pretty much derailed the momentum. So it could be quite possible that this Steelers forced bye week could possibly play in the Eagles' favor because their bodies are still in rhythm. Their bodies are still battle tested. So it could play into the Eagles' favor, but honestly, I just don't think so.
Yeah, I want to say that it could also benefit the Eagles, but they did have some rest and more ability to practice, even though it was kind of some confusion at times during when the game was canceled. I don't think they were allowed to practice the first couple of days before they tested their players, but it could benefit the Eagles. Honestly, I think what's really going to change is how Carson Wentz plays in this game. I think that's obviously going to be the deciding factor. A lot of people are already saying, all right, Carson's back. People that have been on the Wentz wagon this whole season, those brave individuals, they're already a little too confident now that Carson finally won. It was during prime time, so it was even better for them. His stats weren't that great compared to Mullins. He went, I believe, I have the stats right here, 18 of 28 with just a touchdown. He rushed 7 times for 37 yards. So he was the second leading rusher. He was still behind Sanders, who also is definitely going to be something to talk about during this game because we know he's from Pittsburgh. He grew up in Pittsburgh, and he's going to be playing his first NFL game in Pittsburgh. So it's going to be interesting to watch how he plays and performs in front of family and friends, and if that's going to be a factor with his play.
Yeah, listen, he's been banged up the last few games, and when Doug Peterson's been asked in his press conference, he says that he's gone to Corey Clement in certain situations. It's all situational football in his opinion. And he hasn't really stated that Miles Sanders has been hurt, but you can tell, since he had that hamstring injury early on in the season, there's been times where he hasn't looked 100% healthy. So I think going forward, as long as you can keep him fresh, because he's probably your best player on the offensive side of the ball, skill-wise. I know people say Zach Ertz. I'm not buying that at this point of what I've seen. I think Miles Sanders is now your best player. I'm starting to truly buy into his 3-down back, mentality, so to speak. So I think that Miles Sanders going forward and in years to come is really going to be one of your key pieces on offense. And I think that we're just missing a backup running back to complement him in a way. I don't think
honestly
Corey Clement and Boston Scott are good gadget players, but there's no real 1A. There's no 1A to Miles Sanders 1B type of being able to carry the ball out of the backfield quickly on the outside, but also being able to get those strong runs up the middle and also goal line work. We haven't really been able to have a bruiser, like I mentioned previously, like Garrett Blunt or somebody, to get those touchdowns on those 1 or 2 yard carries. So hopefully going forward that we can find a back to complement him in the offseason. And that really shores up your running back position.
Yeah.
I finally think we have a running back who we can count on going forward. Like, yes, okay, Sanders is going to be there hopefully around 15, 16 games, doesn't get banged up, we pray.
You see,
But
that's my argument with Boston Scott real quick. Don't get
Yeah.
me wrong. I think Boston Scott definitely came through last year in the clutch, and he came through at the right time, and he had some huge runs at the right time. However, um, he's really he's like a Miles Sanders a little bit, but with some Darren Sproles size and catching
Mhm.
ability. So I just feel like that's not really a good backup match per se.
Right,
If,
it
now,
doesn't
if
fit.
Miles Sanders was a bruiser back, then yes, I would say that's a good match. However, you basically have two of the same running backs going 1 and 2. Miles Sanders is basically the same as a Boston Scott. You really need a bruiser to kind of, bring that thunder and lightning mentality. And and I'm gonna be honest with you, Boston Scott really hasn't looked that good this year. I've looked at the tape, Gridiron Films. Look, he's not looking that hot. Him or matter of fact, Corey Clement hasn't looked hot, since the Super Bowl, to be honest with you.
Right.
So they
No,
really
they
need to go out and try to find a backup running back for Miles Sanders. Seriously.
yeah. Last game they both rushed for combined 4 yards. It Jalen Hurts was the second leading, or he was the third behind. It goes Miles, Carson, and Jalen Hurts. He was rushing better than those two guys. I just don't think they're not doing well back there, and I think they need to figure out the situation, which we know it will figure out. I'm sure they'll get a practice squad player in there, and he'll impress. We had Adams a few years. Was that 2 years ago? And
Yep.
that really improved our running game down the stretch. And I think they'll get it figured out. But right now, it's just not working out. And it's something that they need to
Mhm.
work out because they need to depend on the rush game for the way that Carson's been playing through the air recently.
Agreed.
So do you like the fact that we're using the gadget plays with Hurts? I mean, he's been in there a few times. There's been a couple fumbles. It doesn't look really, coordinated. I don't know if that's because of lack of practice time and things like that. But do you expect them to continue to use those kind of trick plays or wildcat formations?
Look, as PDR Levelat once said,
I'm not putting up with it. It's too much horse shit. It's too much.
this is how you're going to justify taking Jalen Hurts in the second round. You're just going to throw him in on a couple of gadget plays. Are you bleeping kidding me? And you think that's going to satisfy me?
Oh, T,
No.
come on.
No, that's not going to
Come on.
satisfy me. No, absolutely not. That's not going to satisfy me.
Boo.
I'm sorry.
T, that's not the reason that they're putting him in as a utility player.
I hope not. Shoot, I invested a second round draft pick into this kid.
Look, it's pretty much worked. I don't know exactly the yardage stats and the attempts, the specific attempts he has. At least we can agree at least more than 6 attempts, I think.
Agreed.
And I don't know if what was the I don't know if there was one that has lost more yards. I don't know which one, but I think, as I mentioned, it's been going better than our bottom 2 running backs, and I think I like them putting Jalen Hurts in so he gets his feet in the water and he gets on that field more. So when he gets on that field, when Carson, there's always a high chance that Carson Wentz gets hurt, that Jalen Hurts goes in there and he gets a few snaps. And also, I want to put the blame on that fumble on Kelsey. And I was kind of worried about his play during the 49ers game. He had a few missed snaps that I
He did
sort of
snap
like
it pretty
rewinded. I was
sideways.
like, what is he thinking? So that might be another concern that we have to deal with going forward in this season. And I hope that he, fixes things, and I hope it's just a little bit of rust maybe. But I hope that gets figured out.
Yeah, every
Yeah.
once in a while, Jason Kelsey's good for a couple of those really, really high snaps, and I'm just like, where is this coming from? And typically, I don't see this from other teams, and it's weird because you would think that you're doing this all the time in practice. You're practicing out of the shotgun. That's all the teams run nowadays is shotgun. Every once in a while, you might see quarterback go on to center, but for the most part, it's shotgun. So it's really no excuse as to why Jason Kelsey has been having this problem these past couple of seasons.
Yeah, we just hope he doesn't snap it over Wentz's head in like a key situation, obviously. But do you agree that we should pound the rock more? I know our offensive line is a little banged up, but I still think that having that ground game and, with the lack of weapons we have on the outside, if we were able to use Sanders as long as he's healthy, and I know we don't have a complement to him. That's my point when I say I think we need, a more built physical runner to behind him than the quick speed guys on the outside, where you can have Sanders as the do-it-all back. But when you need to give him a breather, you have somebody there that's capable of stepping in and being able to carry the football. I look at the San Francisco 49ers, and they have just that. Mostert, kind of the overall running back, and he can catch passes and run well. Jerick McKinnon, who's coming back off injury, but he played pretty well last Sunday night too. So they have two guys there, and you can even look further down. Jeff Wilson Jr. had a couple of weeks there earlier in the season. Even last year, he played pretty well when there was injuries in that running back core. So I would love to see us get a running back to complement Sanders. We know we need weapons on the outside. We'll see what these young guys do. If they can step up, we'll see what happens when Jalen Reagor gets healthy, because that's another thing. We've seen Justin Jefferson step up and play really well so far this year in Minnesota. It's kind of eating at me. We should have him, T. And it's kind of frustrating that we don't. But I know people said we didn't need a slot receiver, blah, blah. Hindsight's 2020.
We've seen flashes from Jalen Reagor. So the Justin Jefferson comparison is not 100% fair, I'm going to say right now, because I do think Jalen Reagor will play a big prominent role in this offense. And that's me really sticking my neck out for a rookie, which is something I really don't.
Hey, you're sticking your – I mean, listen, Jefferson's back-to-back 100-yard receiving weeks.
Listen, it frustrates me, too, the way these drafts have gone. Trust me and believe me.
This was an easy one, though. That's the thing we're going to look back on. Like other drafts, you can pick, like, okay, if you need an offensive lineman, there's 3 names that you can choose from. This was everybody, every fan in the city of Philly. We were all sitting there, okay, we're getting Justin Jefferson. And then, of course, they want to out-fox the Fox. They want to step outside the box, and they want to pick somebody that, is a speed guy, and maybe he's good. Like, just pick the guy that's been a superstar at LSU with Joe Burrow. He's caught touchdown passes from best quarterback in the country, and he still couldn't do that. See, it still gets under my skin, because now I'm watching these last 2 weeks.
Drafted Jerry Jeudy.
I'm watching these last 2 weeks, T, with Kirk Cousins, not even a great quarterback, and he's getting 100-yard receiving games from Kirk Cousins. And it's even CeeDee Lamb, who we didn't trade up and go get, too.
Are you kidding me?
Sitting right there, and he's got Dak Prescott throwing like 500 yards a game so far this season, which is pretty crazy. But I don't know. I think if we had a CD on the outside or somebody like that, that's a difference maker. And now, especially when you have Reagor go down with an injury, now look who you have, the guys you never haven't really even heard of. Another thing I'm not looking forward to, but I'm nervous about this weekend is the Steelers' defensive line. They really stopped the run game well so far this year. They have a bunch of big guys on that defensive front. So I don't know if we're going to be able to run the football as well, and that's going to force Carson to throw, I'm going to assume, probably 30 to 40 times, especially if we get behind.
Yeah.
So that's not something you want to see.
Go ahead, Tanner.
The wide receiving core is definitely a worry and concern. And what I want to talk to you guys about is just every week looking at that injury report and seeing the same 3 names, seeing Deshaun Jackson, seeing Alshon Jeffrey, sometimes JJ Arcega-Whiteside. And it's just off. When are we gonna stop playing the weight game? When are we gonna stop playing the weight game with Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey? And I saw comments about there's got to be better players out there on the wire. And I looked, and there's not really that many players. There's Taylor Gabriel is the only
Mohamed
name.
Sanu just got cut by the 49ers last weekend.
I would entertain that.
It's another name.
Yeah. But when are we going to stop playing the weight game? That's just a bunch of dead money sitting there. There's nothing we can really do now, because who's going to want Alshon Jeffrey?
Listen,
and
I know
Deshaun Jackson's
exactly.
just retiring.
You're exactly right. I was not in favor of bringing back Deshaun Jackson when the deal was done. I know we had to get speed on the outside, but he's old, he's past his prime, and he's an injury concern. And on top of that, Alshon Jeffrey, who I know we all agree we've wanted gone since he dropped that pass in the playoff game, really, to be honest with you, because after that he was injured and hasn't really seen the field much since then. But no one's going to take that contract. I think he was guaranteed about $12 to $15 million, and no one wanted to give up anything decent for him. So now you're just stuck with him. You got to ride it out the rest of the season, and then next year you won't see him in an Eagle uniform anymore. The problem is, I think Deshaun Jackson still has what? Go ahead, Tanner.
It really just makes me mad that Deshaun Jackson, you see him on the injury report, and then he's doing stuff in public, like he's making music for his mixtape and stuff like that. That really, I feel like, is a distraction.
Especially
and
when
I
he's
feel
injured.
like he just doesn't Yeah, he just doesn't want to play. I don't know. He could say, like, what else am I going to do? I'm injured.
Yeah.
But, there's always something else you could do, maybe improve, help your teammates. I don't even see him really – are they even allowed to go on the sideline if they're not participating in that game?
I
Yeah.
think they are.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that they are. I think that they
Yeah.
are. And that's
Yeah, I just think it's –
you bring up a very good point about these players helping these young guys out, especially these young receivers. I mean, the veteran presence is really needed in the wide receiver position because we're always having to rely on these young guys. And it's crazy to think that and I stuck my neck out for Deshaun. I did, but at this point I'm starting to raise my eyebrow, and I can't do it no more. Listen. And I think that's the reason why they drafted Jalen Reagor, was the fact that they knew Deshaun Jackson was going to go down, and they went out and got a Jalen Reagor, a speedy guy. Although I think John Hightower is another speedy guy as well, and he contributes a little bit, but at the same time, we do need some better receivers in this wide receiver room, because it's absolutely ridiculous how time after time and year after year we have to contend with the fact that we have receivers at the receiver position, and I'm sick of it at this point. I really am. I'm tired of it.
Yeah, as much
Just
as we're
dog
high up
receivers up
here,
in this piece.
as much as we're high right now, if we lose this weekend, we're 1-3-1. So there's not too many positives to take away if that happens.
Like I'm just tired of it at this point. Let's start, man. Every single year we change up how we heal our players. We change up the medical team, and come
The
on.
funny thing is, Rasul Douglas, who got picked up by Carolina, is actually apparently playing pretty well.
Y'all want me to rant today? Y'all really do.
So that goes to tell you about
T,
some about coaches, right?
Let me tell you something, man. That was one of the guys I did like. Okay, I liked Rasul Douglas's game. I liked his height. I liked his fight. Okay, if you put him in the right position, I do believe that he can succeed in the right defense. However, due to Jim Schwartz's stubbornness and due to Jim Schwartz only wanting the players that he wants, doggone it, now Rasul Douglas is actually balling right now for the Carolina Panthers, and I'm tired of it. You invested a third-round pick in this corner, and Rasul Douglas really wasn't that bad, because guess what? We ain't got a true solid number 2
You're not
corner.
wrong,
Avonte Maddox really is not an outside corner.
He's terrible.
He's not.
He's terrible.
We have one corner in Darius Slay, okay? And it's absolutely ridiculous how everybody attacks the other side and they don't attack Darius Slay. Why? Because they know that the other side is still open.
Darius Slay has been getting injured every game so far, so just remember that going forward in this game and seeing if it happens. If he gets injured in this Steelers game, something's up, because every game he's been banged up.
Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned this on the Bird's Nest, but he did take a helmet to the kneecap.
He did.
So that was kind of a weird
those
I'm not going to call it an injury, but
those hurt.
Yeah, those definitely hurts a little bit. I would probably fall down too. So, but yeah, you're right. He's been banged up in almost every game that we played so far. So if he's done at any point, we're definitely screwed on the outside. But I'll take the blame on this one. When they got rid of Sidney Jones and Russell Douglas, I applauded, because I knew that those guys were not good football players. But the problem is, I didn't really think of the consequences that are going to be, still here. And that relates to the fact that we don't have anybody to really take their place that are much worse than what we have.
That's the one thing I've always said, is that, look, if you're going to replace somebody, you better have a backup, in order to replace that person. Like, you can't just get rid of players and not have a backup plan. Like, you went in thinking that Avonte Maddox was going to work. No, Avonte Maddox is 5'9". He's really not an outside corner. And then he doesn't have the skill of an outside corner.
And TJ Edwards got hurt, and he's going to be out now. Alex Singleton had that pick six, which was great.
Okay,
but
don't get me started. Don't get me started.
You need guys like that to step up in those situations, and he did. Give him some credit, but I don't know. I'm not going to expect that every single week out of him. So our defensive line's still not horrible. It's still pretty solid, and they could. Brandon Graham actually the past few games, all of a sudden he's got some pep in his step out of nowhere. I've been bashing him the whole off season. But we still have
bunch of low lives.
We still have problems with the linebacking core. So we'll see. Big Ben, he's going to get Deontay Johnson back this week, and he still has Juju Smith-Schuster and James Conner out of the backfield. Even Eric Ebron, who I thought was really an underrated signing by them. He's a really good red zone target. So we have our hands full. And I want to ask a question about Deshaun. Is his contract still? We still have one more year on that contract next year?
I believe so. He has one more year.
I don't know if that's guaranteed or not, but I hope it's not. The money,
And before we even get any further, you mentioned the linebackers. I'm sorry, but these got to be the sorriest linebackers I have ever seen in my life, outside of Alex Singleton. Alex Singleton actually popped up on the film, and I wish I had more time to create a film session directly for him. But Alex Singleton definitely did step up outside of the fact that he did get that game-winning interception. But I gotta say, for everybody else, especially Nate Gary, I'm sorry. He is the ire of my anger at this point. How are you that sorry at playing the position of linebacker? Okay, as a matter of fact, in playing football, period, I
Yeah.
have never seen a sorrier linebacker in my life. All right, straight up. All right, he's getting added to the list too. Nate Gary ain't. All right, seriously.
Listen, T, I think we've
No,
all been done with him since that Higbee catch, right? Week
Oh,
2.
gosh.
Where he
I've
got
never
burned.
seen a guy so much out of place. And I on Gridiron Films, I pick on him. I don't mean to. I don't. But listen, the film don't lie, y'all. It don't.
yeah.
He stinks. I don't know what the defensive coach is seeing him. Maybe it's just
It made his position even worse recently. In the I think it was yesterday, he had some old tweets resurfaced, and it's just you play bad on the field, and then there's mistakes made off the field, and it's just not a good look both ways. And so he's gonna need to play better if he wants to stay on this team.
Yeah, I don't think any of us have confidence in him playing better. I just think we need to scrap and claw and try to fight tomorrow best we can to get a W. Because here's the thing, the Steelers are better than us in all 3 phases of the game.
definitely.
So the Niners were definitely had a better defense too, but we were able to scratch and claw and put together 25 points. That's kind of what we're going to have to do tomorrow: create some havoc, create some turnovers, maybe force a fumble, things like that to get us short field position, and then be able to, be there in the end of the game and see what happens. And I think if we can do that, we give ourselves a shot. But again, Big Ben off a bye week is not what you want to see. You got to go on the road second straight week. You have to fly back across the country. It's all lining up for a loss, but who knows? Hey, we got some momentum right now off a big win, and we'll see what happens. But you can't have too much confidence after 1 week. I will say that.
No. I'm sorry, I'm not there yet. To answer your question, from earlier, real quick before you do move on, when you said that, do we run more because we have a young offensive lineman? Yes, that's exactly what you do. Because these young offensive linemen, they are big, they are powerful, all right, and they do create pretty good running lanes. I definitely highlighted Jordan Mailata in this week's film session, and listen, he actually did a pretty decent job. I'm not even going to deny that. All right,
He
Jordan
did,
Mailata stepped
surprisingly.
up. Yes, he did. All right, he definitely stepped up big time, and honestly, he did a whole lot better than Jason Peters ever would this season. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Jordan Mailata out there for the foreseeable future.
Real quick
Yeah.
before we go ahead, Tanner.
No, I just want to say, I don't know if you're changing topics, but I think that it's ridiculous that every season for the past couple seasons, the Eagles, we have to deal with, all right, I guess we'll just plug this guy into this position. We always have to deal with the lack of depth at a position. And then we see
Man, that's
teams like the Chicago Bears, who are now a 4-1 team somehow. A 4-1 team. We saw on Thursday night, you have T's favorite quarterback in the entire league beat Tom Brady in prime time
Ridiculous.
with Foles. He passed 42 times, completing 30 of them for 243 yards. And it's just ridiculous to see all these players that the Eagles
One's a
once
good-
had.
one's
They're
named
doing great
You
somewhere
know,
else. Now
Oh, go ahead. No, continue, Tanner.
there's always going to be a controversy of which quarterback we could have picked. But just seeing Nick Foles go in prime time and down the stretch beat the best quarterback in the league,
I'm sick of it.
it's just crazy to see.
Yeah. Listen, the one thing I'll take away from that game is at the very end, what happened with the handshake? That's the second time. And listen,
You're talking about the handshake.
I've heard a lot of people say, "Yeah, I get COVID and related," and
No.
BS.
that's
BS.
No, he shook Justin Herbert's hand last game against the Chargers. There's you can't put that excuse. And you're talking about the handshake, but what I want to talk about is how he thought it was just third down on that last play.
Man,
That's not a mistake that the best player, the best quarterback in football makes, and it was just really surprising to see that Nick Foles just got in Tom Brady's head so much. And maybe it had to do with Khalil Mack sacking him and him hitting his head against the turf.
Yeah,
But for
definitely.
him to think that it was third down on fourth, that was just crazy.
Nick Foles is living real estate free in Tom Brady's head, and I'm all here for it. Listen. I'm not a big Nick Foles fan, but look, anything to screw up Tom Brady, that's good for me.
I ain't scared of Nick Foles.
Yeah, listen, we picked the right quarterback in Wentz at the time. Like, let's not get crazy here. I mean, it's what we had to do, and it is what it is. We live with our decisions. But you do got to give Foles some credit. I mean, he's playing with not the best O-line. They couldn't get anything going on the ground. I think Dave Montgomery ran for like 29 yards on like 10 carries. I mean, they literally couldn't get any run game going whatsoever.
It's ridiculous.
Foles is still able to hang in there, and he finds Jimmy Graham in the end zone, makes that crazy catch one-handed. Allen Robinson's all of a sudden like a superstar wide receiver. I mean, he's literally been
he had 90 yards.
Yeah, 10 catches, 90 yards. I mean, each week this guy, I feel like he's getting 10, 12 catches a game. I mean, he's starting to put himself up there in the top-tier wide receivers. So give him credit there. But it was definitely an entertaining game. And it's always good to see Nicky Six get back in the win column. Gotta love it.
Yeah.
But the Bears are not a 4-1 team. Let's be honest. Talent-wise, no way should they be 4-1 right now. They have a solid team. Don't get me wrong. But they're not a 4-1. I mean, we're talking about what? They're better than the Packers? Are they better than the Packers? Probably not. Then I'll say, are they better than the Vikings? Maybe. Who knows? But we'll see. I'll tell you one thing. They're better than the Lions. I'll give you that. So,
let's just – can the Buccaneers – are the Buccaneers going to make the playoffs?
I think they will.
Yes, the Buccaneers. Yeah, I agree. I think so.
I think they will ultimately make the playoffs. It's just the simple fact that, man, Tom Brady ain't Tom Brady no more, and I need people to realize that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't care the fact that he changed teams. I don't care about the fact that, now he's in an offense where he's going to be able to rack up crazy yards. He's not the same quarterback. People, what is he, 44 years old now?
Yeah, they were missing Chris Godwin and Leonard Fournette. They were missing both of those guys, and those are big pieces. But, yeah, listen, he made a couple of questionable throws, especially towards the end of the game where he's trying to force windows that aren't open.
No, man, Tom Brady's not the same quarterback. He does not have the same arm strength. He doesn't. I've been saying that for years now. And now all of a sudden people now are starting to see it. And I'm like, I've been saying this for a while now, people. Like, he's not the same quarterback, y'all.
He does have the talent to get to the playoffs, though.
He has the talent. But I don't think he himself, Tom Brady, has the talent to take it even farther anymore.
Right, especially since the way that the Saints are playing recently without Mike Thomas.
Yeah, when they get him back, that's Breeze's favorite target. And Panthers actually had a nice win last weekend against the Arizona Cardinals, so I'll give them credit there. Real quick before we move on here, though, guys, let's get a prediction for this weekend. You got a score and a winner for the Birds?
I'm going to say 24-16 Steelers. I'm expecting a loss. I'm sorry. I think the win against the 49ers was a fluke due to the simple fact that the 49ers are just riddled with injuries to their main guys, and I think the Eagles took advantage of that as they should have. But it's going to take me a nice little while to gain confidence in this team again.
Okay. We'll look you on that, Tanner.
I think I want to go with 17-10 Steelers.
Really low-scoring game, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, listen, I don't think it's going to be high-scoring either. I'm going to say I'll go 20-14. I'll go 20-14 Steelers get the W.
They want to see.
I think the offense just won't be able to get anything going. I think the defense will try to hang in, and that's kind of been the story of the season. The defense tried to hang in against Cincinnati. The offense couldn't get anything going, even in overtime. So I do think that the Eagles will hang in, and the defense will try to keep them in the game. But ultimately, there's too much talent there and on that Steelers offense. So we'll see what happens, and hopefully we're back here next week talking about a win. But we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully we can just hang in there and fight. That's all we got to do because that's the kind of team we have right now. So let's roll on here. Let's talk some Doc Rivers in Philly. I want to get your guys' opinion on if he can, make Embiid and Simmons coexist. He stated in his press conference that he's not as worried as the fan base that Simmons is not shooting the jump shot. Does that worry you, especially because we've sat here a lot and talked about Simmons' inability to shoot the ball, and not just the inability, but not willing to. And Embiid, his health, and also, his stamina. Can he go a full 82-game season? What do you guys think about the hiring?
First off, I love the hiring. I see that's the reason why I like the fact that they waited and they didn't jump, on the Mike D'Antoni train. I would have settled for Mike D'Antoni, but especially outside of Tyronn Lue. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
But I definitely like the fact that they waited. It was a little bit of a shocker that the Clippers got rid of Doc Rivers, especially after forming that team only for 1 year. So it was a little bit of a shocker, but that's the reason why a lot of teams wait till the playoffs are over, because you never know who's going to get fired and who's going to be available. And Doc Rivers is an excellent coach. There's no doubt about it. He does bring the best out of his players. All right. So I do think that he will bring the best out of Embiid and Simmons. Now, I think he will push Simmons to develop that jump shot. I'm not looking for perfection out of that jump shot, but I am looking for a jump shot, period. And to kind of evolve the offense a little bit, because that offense is going to continue to be limited. I don't care what offense you run. It's going to be limited until Ben Simmons gets that jump shot.
Yeah, I only would have banked on D'Antoni if he was able to bring James Harden to Philly. That's the only way I would have signed Mike D'Antoni. I think from a Clippers standpoint, I think they're going to go after Ty Lue just because he has a winning pedigree with LeBron, and that's kind of what they need right now. They need a winning coach just to get in there and take them to the finals. But I think Doc Rivers is a perfect fit because he's an actual good coach. He develops players. He knows strategy-wise as far as how to use players. He even stated he doesn't think about it 1 through 5. He just has 5 guys out on the court that do their job. So that's one thing that I've liked about the hiring, and we'll see.
Ooh, yeah!
I did like the idea of Harden and Embiid, that kind of pairing if we were to trade Simmons away. But you still have to love the fact that Doc's here, winning pedigree, title, and also just respect around the league as well.
Yeah, you really got to like the way that Tobias Harris played for Doc, considering how much money we gave him last season and the lack of play we really saw from him. This season, he just didn't – he wasn't up to standards with the contract. And back when he was on the Clippers and Doc Rivers was his coach, they were both named Western Conference Player and Coach of the Month. Tobias, this was in December, Tobias was averaging 21.7 points and 8.7 rebounds. And it was just good play from him that stretch. And I just think we really need to see something out of Tobias this year, or it's done for him. You can't. You're just worried about that for the next seasons of his contract. Then
agreed. He had the ball in his hands a ton there in LA, and I don't think that's how it's going to be here in Philly. That's the problem. Simmons always needs the ball in his hands because he can't shoot the basketball. Now we'll see. We'll see how this all works. I mean, it's definitely a work in progress, and Doc's probably going to have a lot of sleepless nights. But I think the first order of business is either getting rid of Al Horford or putting him on the bench permanently. Part of that's because he's 34 years old now and kind of getting up there in age, but also the fact that he just can't play with Embiid. It's just not going to work. Yeah. And I don't know why Elton Brand thought it would. That's why I'm surprised Elton Brand's still here. I thought he should have been fired as well. But you have to sit here and think about the future. That's always the goal in mind. Tobias, yes, Tanner, you bring up a great point. Hopefully he can get that 25-point average back like he had in LA. But his three-point percentage has dipped a ton while he's been here in Philly. And that's kind of that's a big red flag for me because we're going to need him to be able to shoot the 3 ball efficiently.
Agreed. Yeah, we're talking about needing coaches, and I still having this conversation. We need a nutritionist for Joel Embiid. And this season, this bubble little stretch of the season in the playoffs did him well because they were really limiting the amount of food he ate. And I think this off season, especially now he's a dad, he's going to be staying up. He's probably going to be eating a ton of food. And that just worries me because next season he's going to be up in weight again if he doesn't get together, man. He really needs a nutritionist. He cannot go back to that Chick-fil-A diet.
No, I agree with you 100%. But that's what happens, man. Off season, you're relaxing. He's got a baby on the way now. With his
not for winners, Max. That doesn't happen for winners. Winners go back in the gym.
We know how he is. He doesn't have that mentality. I wish if everybody.
You think Kawhi is going to McDonald's?
No,
that's true.
If everybody could have a Kobe mentality,
You understand what I'm saying to you?
Then everybody then life would be amazing. But not everybody has that Kobe mentality, and some people would get lazy and they want to play Xbox instead of working out at the gym. So we'll see. I think we'll
sit on Twitter all day.
There you go. Sit on Twitter.
Ridiculous.
Eat Chick-fil-A sandwiches. Spend every day in the drive-thru. We'll see.
I will say those Chick-fil-A sandwiches are delicious.
Well, till you're not getting paid. We have to just bank on the fact that these guys want to win because at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. Do you want to win games? Do you want to win championships or not? If you're not 100% invested in it, then what are you doing here? That's what we need. That's what Philadelphia is all about. And you see that last night. Jimmy Butler resembles that perfectly. I mean, this guy is bent over, just giving it all putting it all on the line, giving all out effort.
Yes.
And he's gassed, you tell. And he's putting on a show. And he's not going to let his team down. And I think that's why he should have stayed here because Jimmy Butler, let's be honest, he's better than Joel Embiid. He's better than Ben Simmons. I don't think it's close.
I think he has a whole lot more heart than those two. And I think
100%.
that's one of the most important things.
I don't care about the age. I don't care about the problems in the locker room. The problems in the locker room are coaches. The coaches are the problem because it's working perfectly fine with Eric Spoelstra in Miami. Mm-hmm. And I know people didn't view Jimmy Butler last year, 2 years ago, as one of the superstars of this league. And when I say that, they didn't view him as the same, I can carry your team like Kawhi carried the Raptors or LeBron carried the Cavaliers. But he can do that, and he's shown it this season with the Miami Heat. That's why I think he should have either got rid of Embiid or Simmons. And I know, like I mentioned, hindsight's 20/20. But at this point, the way he's playing, of course, I would have gotten rid of whatever he needed in order to be the man and put the ball in his hands. He single-handedly won us a few games with a couple of game-winning shots that short period he was here.
He's not.
So do you guys agree, though? Do you guys agree that if we can go back and do this over again, Simmons or Embiid would be gone just to keep this superstar of a player?
Yeah. And goodbye, Simmons.
What about Tanner? I don't think he's as slam dunk on this as you are.
No, definitely not. If we had to get rid of one of the two, I think I'd have to go with what T said, maybe Ben Simmons. But man, us deciding to pay Tobias the money and it was really a decision between Tobias and Jimmy Butler in a way. Of course, money had to go into it too. But, man, if we could get Jimmy Butler back with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid with Doc Rivers as coach, we would –
the match made in heaven. But here's the
issue.
issue.
Be such a great team.
Joel Embiid doesn't have the willpower in himself to play 82 games and be dominant every single night. And I don't think that would have meshed well with Jimmy because Jimmy demands 110% out of you every night, no matter if you're the first of 3 games at home. If you're the sixth game of a 6-game road trip, no matter where you are, he's going to demand every single night that you bring it. I don't think Embiid and Butler just would have meshed that well just because of the fact that I feel like Embiid, there's nights where he takes the night off, especially against weaker teams where he thinks they can just cruise and win. So I don't know if that would have been.
Fine.
Simmons does give you 100% effort. Don't get me wrong. That's why I think they would have meshed well, but Embiid doesn't.
And that's
on the team, though.
I want a player like that's going to push the other players. I need that because these guys are young players. These guys don't really know what it is to really be in the NBA. All right. These guys are getting by on their talent alone. And as they should know by now, talent's not going to front. That talent's not going to cut it in the NBA at this point. You're going to need some dog. You're going to need some heart. All right. You're going to need to ball out every game. Period.
Jimmy Butler,
I agree.
He's a perfect athlete for Philly. I mean, he just has all the attributes.
We saw when they played last season. It was or not last season. It was when he was on the team. It was him and Joel Embiid had the best chemistry on the team, aside from TJ McConnell on the bench. And it just seemed like Ben Simmons wanted little to do with Jimmy Butler off the court. It seemed like when they would go to team dinners and stuff, it was Joel Embiid and Jimmy Butler who were the two clowning with each other and everything. And I think that would have worked because you see in Miami, Jimmy Butler has such a great relationship with all his players on the team. Tyler Hero, man, he presents him every time. He's always talking up. He's always talking his players up. And he has so much confidence in each and one of those guys on the court. And I think that's what would have hurt is having Ben Simmons on the team with Jimmy Butler instead of Joel Embiid. I think we would have lost a lot of that chemistry.
So you think not everybody – Simmons wouldn't have bought in and Embiid would have bought in?
Yes.
Okay. That's a fair point because I agree with you.
I think Ben Simmons would have seen that there was a decision, and I think he would rather have gone elsewhere. Like the Lakers. I
agree. My stance is off the court is one thing. I do agree. Maybe off the court there would have been issues. But on the court, Simmons has the same mindset. He wants to win. He wants to give 100% effort every single night. He doesn't take games off. he might not shoot the basketball, but he's always playing. His defensive ability is second to none. I mean, he's always out there grinding, and his effort there is 100% every night. Even though he might not be the best player in the league, you can see it.
My thing with Ben Simmons has always been how's his effort at practice, because it's pretty apparent that what he does in practice is not corresponding to what he does on the court.
So
and that's my big thing with him. Like
you're right. There's issues on both sides. Definitely issues on both sides.
Defense, he is excellent. I'm not going to doubt that. Okay, I think he's one of the top 5 drivers in the NBA. I have said that on a numerous of occasions. All right, passing wise, unlike anything I've seen on the Sixers squad, bar none. However, the one thing that holds him back is the one thing that he does in practice, and we always get videos of, and Tanner always shoots them to me for some damn reason. And I don't see it transpiring on the court, and that's the part that pisses me off. I need to see the jump shot.
For the exact reason I send you those videos of Ben Simmons is for this rant exactly now. I want you to get into Ben Simmons, and I want you to make him shoot that 3, make him one of the best players in this league that he can be if he develops that 3 shot.
Simmons, get your damn jump shot together. You are hearing this straight from me. All right, Doc Rivers ain't gonna take your crap, and I'm not gonna take your crap no more. Get your crap together, or else otherwise the both of us are gonna be delivering
boots to asses.
Since we have Ben Simmons up topic, I saw a rumor in a mock trade, sort of. It was featuring Ben Simmons and Devin Booker. Would you do that trade straight up?
Yes.
Yeah, that won't happen, but yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not even a fair trade. You would obviously accept Devin Booker over Ben Simmons. I feel like that's too obvious. It would depend on what would go into the trade as well, and I feel like that's an uneven day. Devin Booker's played 2 more seasons than Ben Simmons, and Devin Booker has no playoff experience at all, which is
he's got bubble experience.
He's on the Phoenix Suns. So.
However, Devin Booker's his play style is it directly can correspond with the current Sixers squad. That's my big thing. Like
I agree with that. Yeah,
it'll fit. Like his jump shot ability, his shooting ability, his not being scared of any kind of a defense shooting ability. I need that on this squad. I need a scorer. That's the big thing.
You know, the player I think is going to benefit most from this possibly is Matisse Thybulle. Doc Rivers said this guy's already like all NBA defensive team. If he can get that offensive game figured out, this guy has a chance to be like one of the real. I'm not going to call him a superstar, but he's got a chance to be a solid like 3 on a winning team, in my opinion. Like I'm not going to say his ceiling is like a Tobias Harris. I think he could be even better because just how his defense ability is so great already at his age.
Ooh, yeah!
Consistent offensive game and average around like 20 points a game when he gets into his prime. The years down the road, look out. This is a guy I don't want to get rid of because I think the potential here is insane. I really think it is. He really had. The shot. It's been there some nights it's not. He's been able to drive really well and play great defense. So I think that he's going to be a key player on this team years down the road. I really think he's going to be a starter.
I can agree with that.
Definitely. All right, let's touch on this last topic. I want to get real quick with the Phils and then we'll wrap it up. They demote Matt Klentak. I think a main reason is because of the fans. There's a rumor going around. The fans, John Middleton really listens to the fans, and if they make their voices heard on Twitter or whatever, they get what they want. So we all agree Matt Klentak wasn't the man for his job, and he's gone. But listen, they kept Andy McPhail here, so it's kind of like they're dipping their toes in the water here. They're not committing to.
It's the same thing.
Yeah,
they're not cleaning house here. Why aren't they cleaning house, man? We don't have a bullpen. Didn't they watch the season?
Did they watch the last couple seasons?
Exactly.
Obviously, they're not listening to us completely on Twitter, or we'd have JT Realmuto signed to a contract, to a full contract. The Phillies aren't playing, and they're still losing. We just lost another relief pitcher in Adam Morgan.
Yeah, he's terrible anyway. I'm not even worried about
elbow flexor surgery. This team is just losing.
They're going to non-tender him. They're going to non-tender him anyway. I don't think his contract's not guaranteed, so I don't think he'll be back next year. Listen, the one thing that I'll point to, and people are saying, Klentak got a bad rap in Philly, is because of the fact that Dave Robertson and Seranthony Dominguez were both hurt all season long. And those guys are 2 really solid relievers. People are saying that, if you have your 7th and 8th inning guy, Hector Neris, who we all have been really I know, I get it. We've been skeptical of Hector Neris because he has his nights where he looks really solid, 1, 2, 3 inning in the 9th, and then you'll have 4 straight outings where he gives up 3 runs. So basically, if you don't put him in a high leverage 9th inning situation and have him out there in the 6th or 7th inning where it's less stressful, maybe that'll benefit him. My point is this: David Robertson probably threw 27 pitches in a field uniform. He's probably not going to throw another one. Sir Anthony Dominguez coming off of that Tommy John surgery, I'm high on him. I still think he's the 9th inning guy, and he's got the power arm that we all needed, right? Everybody in our bullpen throws 92 miles an hour. We need somebody to throw 100 miles an hour, close to it. Sir Anthony can be that guy. But I think at the end of the day, Adam Morgan's not going to make or break our bullpen. No. And I would clean that whole bullpen out and just find new arms somewhere overseas.
If I see Hector Neris on that mound next season, it's going to be so terrible.
Yeah,
bad things are going to happen, and T is going to have just a full episode of rant.
The Rays went through their whole bullpen where their guys came from. It's crazy. They got 3 of them from the Dominican Republic. They all throw 101. Then there's a bunch of other guys that people just got rid of that obviously they haven't reached their full potential, and the Rays brought that out. And now they have 9 guys in the bullpen that can throw 98 to 100, the wipeout slider and a curveball and things like that. If the Phillies just had 2 of those guys this year, they make the playoffs. So
now, Max, are the Phillies keeping Velasquez?
Yeah, they have to keep Velasquez, and here's why. He showed that he's a pretty good pitcher, and I know he's had 6 years to prove that. But this season, I'm not gonna rip Vince Velasquez because there was times where he had 2 starts. I know the one in Toronto where we blew a 7-run lead.
So we know it's hard.
Horrible start. But not all on him. The bullpen came in and blew that as well. So he showed me something this year. And I think that even though it was a 60-game shortened season, he's got the potential. And even if he doesn't have the potential as a starter long-term, he has the potential for a middle reliever type of role where he can give you 2 solid innings. He also brings it at 94, 95, 96 when he's early on in the he's amped up. Early on in the game, you'll see him at 96, 97. If he can give you that now by the time he gets to the 5th inning, he's down around 93. But if he can give you those two innings of 97 miles an hour, that's a weapon you have out of the bullpen. And you don't just give those guys away, especially he's in the prime of his career. I think he's 28, 29 years old now. So do you guys agree, though? Vince Velasquez definitely showed you guys something this year, right?
He has at times. My confidence in him is increasing slowly but surely, but that's saying something considering the fact that this entire bullpen really ain't worth 2 cents.
Right.
I do feel like my confidence in him is growing slightly. And once again, clean this damn bullpen out for crying out loud.
Yeah, I mean, if we keep Velasquez, that's $4.5 million on our books still. But this season, we're clearing our books. We got, as we mentioned, we got Arrieta, who is not going to come back. I don't see him coming back. I don't see a reason to bring him back.
Contract. Horrible.
JT Realmuto is going to be a free agent, and that is terrifying because there's going to be teams like the Yankees and I believe the Mets and the Nationals that are the 3 interested teams in him. Alvarez, Goslin, Hunter, as we mentioned, Neris,
Tommy Hunter,
and Phelps. Those are just players.
Tommy Hunter is the Hector Neris of T for me. I can't deal with it anymore. This guy, people talk about. First of all, he's supposed to be a power arm out of the bullpen.
That guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
Max is out at 93 miles an hour on the fastball. I mean, he used to be pretty good. He used to throw 98 back in his prime. I get it, but he's not there anymore. And people like even Girardi, which kind of irked me. The one thing about Girardi, they would go to Tommy Hunter in the 8th inning in a 1-run game. You can't do it. I get it. You don't really have another option. But put somebody else out there, man, because the lead's going to be blown. The same thing with Hector Neris. You just can't put Tommy Hunter in this situation. I can't wait till that guy's gone. Hopefully they don't re-sign him. Hector Neris, he's got a difference maker pitch. It's that wipeout splitter. Because listen, I know, I get it. His fastball's around 95 miles an hour. He's a weapon though, and here's what I mean by that. He has something that the hitters cannot hit, and it looks so good, that splitter where it's thrown, it looks like it's coming right down the middle of the plate, and then boom, last minute it drops off the table. I don't want to get rid of Hector Neris. I just don't want to have him as the closer. I don't want to have him as the closer. Put him as a middle reliever in the 7th inning when we're up 6 runs and he doesn't have to panic or anything, because I think it's a mental game for him. As far as Tommy Hunter and Hector Neris go, I'm on 2 sides of the spectrum here. T, I know you probably want to. You would be like, okay, why not bring back Tommy Hunter? Well, I'll tell you why not. He's not good.
Wait a minute. Doggone. Tommy Hunter. Okay. Tommy Hunter didn't have the best season.
Give me Hector Neris over Tommy Hunter is my point.
Oh, now you're
Hector
just
Neris over Tommy Hunter.
Now you're just extreme. What is wrong with you?
I'm sorry.
Wait a minute.
You dumbass.
Tommy Hunter doesn't bring you any. He doesn't have the velocity. He's okay. He doesn't have the velocity, right? He doesn't have that 100-mile-an-hour fastball difference maker. Okay, fine. If a pitcher throws a 93-mile-an-hour fastball, do they have that nasty changeup? Do they have that nasty breaking ball, the curveball? He doesn't have either one of those.
Okay, you're talking
what does
about
he give you?
Neris. Okay, you talked about Hector Neris having a 95 miles per hour fastball, but people are apparently still hitting it. So apparently, a 95 mile per hour fastball, it really don't matter.
I get it.
People are still hitting the crap out of Hector Neris.
I'm not on the Hector Neris train here going down I-95. I'm not. I get it, but he brings you something. He brings you something to the table. It's like Roman Quinn. Roman Quinn can't hit a lick, but he brings something to the table, and that's his speed in center field. He's the fastest player in the league, at least one of them. So he gives you a weapon either off your bench in a pitch running situation. Hector Neris has that splitter. He brings something to the table.
The only thing Hector Neris brings me every damn year is a headache. That's the only thing that man gives me.
Hey, where you stand at on this Hector Neris thing? Why not bring him back? He's got a pitch that people can't hit.
If I can't see Hector Neris back on this team. That means there weren't enough changes made. If we have to keep Hector Neris on this roster,
yeah. All right. Listen,
man,
my whole point is there's like about 4 or 5 other names in that bullpen that I would get rid of before Hector Neris.
Well, that's fair. We're talking about clearing the entire bullpen. This bullpen is the worst in MLB history.
Agreed. Now, do you bring back Phil Gosselin, though? Do you bring back Phil Gosselin as a bench bat?
It's only $1 million.
Yeah, it's not.
He's been
only
solid.
$1 million.
I would take him. I would take him back in a heartbeat too. What about Jay Bruce? You guys a fan of Jay Bruce, or do you think he's past his prime?
I like him as a DH. I don't think he needs.
Hopefully, he can stay healthy, man. We'll see what happens.
Just one year. Sure. Remember when we got him? And he was just, I think, like 3 out of the 4 games he hit a home run or something like that. It was just, he was so powerful in the box right away.
What about Didi Gregorius?
Yes, 100%.
Yes.
Now, do you keep Gene Segura at third base in this deal, and you have him there for a few more years, or not third base? Excuse me, second base. And obviously you have Bohm. But what do you do with Scott Kingery now? Is Scott Kingery going to take over for Segura? Because I know Segura, I don't know what his contract is off the top of my head, but I know he's not going to be here long term. Do you have Scotty come in there as your everyday second baseman? Because what I've seen from this season, he was one of the worst players on our team. Defensively, a ton of errors or a ton of misplays. And offensively, he hit like 200.
Right. No, you don't. I'd pick to keep.
What?
Go ahead, T.
No,
this isn't the presidential debate.
I was going to say that Scott Kingery definitely has fallen off, which is a surprise because, we definitely sung his praises the previous season. I mean, defensively, he was really good. And, batting-wise, we were talking about putting him, 1-2. So it's kind of scary to see how much of a drop-off he has gone through. That's all I was going to say.
I think I would rather keep Scott Kingery than Gene Segura, but
really,
listen to me, not put Scott Kingery as a starting second baseman. We can get someone else.
Okay, where would you put Kingery?
Someone else to plug in?
Utility guy then?
Yes, he's just a utility guy. He's proved that he can be nothing more than a utility guy.
Agreed, 100% agree with that. But here's the thing: I don't know who would come in and be an everyday second baseman. And I will say this: who had a really solid season there in Cleveland?
Don't say it.
Who had a solid year? Am I talking about? T. Who am I talking about?
Cesar
Hernandez. Let off almost every game there.
I'm sick of this.
He played really well. He got to the playoffs. We're missing him maybe a little bit. Great defense, too. He plays good, solid second base. Now, I'm not saying I was a fan of keeping him, but listen, hear me out here. If we still have Cesar Hernandez, that solves our second base issue. And we also get him on a cheaper contract than Gene Segura would be. Scotty could move to the bench. Then you have the problem here is left field. Is Andrew McCutchen going to hold up for 162 games out in left field? No way, right? He's going to have to be the DH because, in my opinion, they're keeping the DH in both leagues now that they've seen it for the 60-game season. Now, if they don't, then you have to change things. But I think they're going to keep the DH.
What do you think about Adam Hazley?
I don't like him. I don't like him.
You don't want to give him more time?
I think he's a fourth outfielder at best.
Wow.
Yeah, and I know we used the 7th overall pick on him.
Wow.
But yeah, no, I know people are going to say give him more time. I understand it, but he's had over a year now. I don't know. See, what do you think? Am I jumping the gun here on Hazley?
I think you kind of are jumping the gun just a tad little bit, only because I say that because, with baseball players, I know that it takes a little bit more time to develop them. So I would still give him maybe another season or two.
I'm not saying get rid of the guy, but I guess Tanner, I think what he meant was, or you like him every day in center field. But I don't. I'm
no, not as an everyday center fielder. No. But I do think we need to give him a little bit more time.
Roman Quinn is the everyday center fielder next year. Is that correct?
My question was more so: do you have confidence in Adam Hazley to plug him into the outfield when necessary?
When necessary, yes. But as a starter every day, no.
I'm just not a huge Adam Hazley fan. I mean, there's got to. I'd much rather have a veteran guy who's been around that has a little pop in his bat. Because that's one thing Hazley doesn't give you any of. I think he has like one career home run. He doesn't offer you the pop, and he doesn't offer you the speed that Roman Quinn does. He doesn't offer you the bat that Jay Bruce would offer you, from a power standpoint. He's kind of like one of those in-between guys. He's kind of decent, like a little bit average to below average all-around game. That's the problem I have with Adam Hazley. I don't know. I think Roman Quinn, I get it. His bat is horrible, and I would kind of use him. And they bunted him a lot, and I would still do that going forward. Try to get him on base because he's almost like Billy Hamilton. He can just steal second or third if he wants to. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, the thing with JT, and I want to end it on this, unless you guys want to touch on something else. If we don't re-sign JT Realmuto, that gives us a ton of money to go out and get an ace pitcher, and we would pair that with. Hold on, now hear me out. Pair that with Nola and Wheeler, which is where we were weak at this year. We were weak in the starting rotation and in the bullpen. If you have a stud in Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, and then this other ace that you would get, there's 3 guys. You would just have an Eflin, who low-key had a really solid year for us. Velasquez, we'll see about him. I'm not 100% sold on him as a starter, but if need be, he can fill in there as the 5th guy. And if you have that solid rotation with a few bullpen pieces, you have Sir Anthony Dominguez coming back, you have Rhys Hoskins getting healthy. Do we have enough bats is my question to make up for the loss of JT, but also on top of that, add to the pitching rotation? Like, are we a better team with an ace pitcher instead of JT? I guess is what this comes down to.
So
I hate this conversation.
So
because there leads to an argument that Andrew Knapp will be he's played better down the stretch of the season, and that makes me cringe so
Andrew
bad
Knapp was
that people talk about Andrew Knapp.
What the hell is going on?
What a great year from Andrew Knapp and
Please talk over this, man. Go ahead with your conversation.
Andrew Knapp was a great player this year.
Max, shut the hell up. All right.
You have to admit, the dude was hitting like 450 in
not
game
this
like
entire year.
It was about like game 40 of the season out of 16. This dude was still hitting 450.
Max, shut the hell up.
So give the man some credit. Now listen, I know this is why we aren't the general manager. We don't have to make this decision. But Andrew Knapp as this everyday catcher in a Phillies uniform.
Matt, shut up. Anyway, let's get back to the question at hand. All right, I'm going to answer the question. So I stuck my neck out and I said that honestly I would get rid of Rhys Hoskins because I do think you have enough bats. But that was me considering that we had JT Realmuto. Now, if we don't have JT Realmuto, do I think we still have enough bats to get away with it? I do think we do to be able to pay for a pitcher. I do. But do I really want to risk that getting rid of JT? I don't know, guys. I'm leaning towards no. I want JT back. I do.
See, I agree with you. I agree. I want JT Realmuto too. But I think what pains the majority of the Phillies fans is the pitching that they've watched this season And the fact that all we had to do was win one more single game. We just needed a single win. And if we had if we had a pitching rotation or pitching depth that was somewhat capable. They don't even have to be good. They just have to be capable.
But let's be honest here. With that one game, if we would have won that one game, would it really have been worth watching the Phillies in the playoffs?
Anything happens in the playoffs. Every sport.
I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that crap.
Anything happens.
You want to
look at the Nationals last year, T. Look at the Nationals. They got into the wild card, one-game wild card playing game against the Brewers. They won. They went on to win the World Series. You never know what happens when you get in.
You want to let JT Realmuto walk after we gave up 6-0 for him and all the stuff we went through, and you just want to let him walk and clear that hole.
It's an argument but you have to think about it. It's a discussion that needs to be had because what are we going to do? Say, okay, fine, we signed JT back. We don't have an ace pitcher in free agency. We get a couple of Jason Vargases out there.
Oh God.
Yeah, no, because this is what's going to happen. We're not going to have the money to go out and get an ace pitcher. We're going to have to sign a couple of Jason Vargas. So you're going to have Aaron Nola, you're going to have Zach Wheeler, Eflin, and then you're going to have a couple of Jason Vargases. You also probably aren't going to have a ton of money to go spend in that bullpen either. So here's my thing. The fact that if we had some people in the minor leagues that were young, talented, and were coming up to the major league soon, I'd be fine. But we don't have that. We tried that. We went down to the satellite campus multiple times to try to find guys, and none of them worked out. So you're going to have to spend money on the bullpen in order to improve it. And I don't know what the threshold is as far as what's the maximum you can spend on the bullpen before JT. You can't get JT back. It's going to cost you too much. The last thing I want to see is JT Realmuto in the Mets uniform. I think we can end it on that.
I agree with that emphatically. All right, guys. If you guys missed any of this episode, you can always go to Philly-Experience.simplecast.com. Available on all major platforms: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, the entire shabazz. And look, Bird's Nest after every game, every Monday. And listen, you want to
Victory Monday.
The game, the Gridiron Films. Check us out on YouTube and on Instagram, y'all. And by the way, I would like to say a congratulations to all of us, because now we are all college graduates up in this piece. Let's go.
There we go.
That's all I'm saying. You're doing the doggone thing.
I like the golf clap there, too. Good touch.
He needs to learn how to wrap that thing up.
Kind of circumcising the mosquito.
I want me some glory hole.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Giving Jerry Jones my money? F that guy.